You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be talking now to Paul Best on the Sittingbourne Kemsley Light Railway. Paul, it's always great to have you back here in the studio.
Hello Daniel, it's great to be here.
So I was hoping you could just give our listeners a little bit of a quick reminder about the Sittingbourne Kemsley Light Railway.
Yeah, sure. So the railway was originally set up in Sittingbourne Paper Mill and used to carry raw materials and finished product from Milton Creek at Sittingbourne Wharf into the paper mill. Now, right back then in the 1850s, they set it up with horses pulling the wagons into the paper mill. And then by 1905 they decided they needed a little bit more oomph, so they bought a couple of steam engines, which were Premier and Leader, and they used those to move the trains around and let the horses have a rest. Then over the years they expanded both the Sittingbourne paper mill and then extended the line all the way through to Ridham Dock, and then it carried on like that. They built a paper mill at Kemsley in the 20s, carried on like that till the 50s and 60s, and then in the 60s they decided, it would be better off using trucks to move stuff around the mill, and if we're going to do that we might as well just go over to trucks. And they didn't want to, Bowalters didn't want to see the railway die, so in 1969 it was handed over to the Locomotive Club of Great Britain, and the Sittingbourne Kemsley Light Railway was set up by them in 1972, and we've been the longest operator of the railway since then. It's quite a popular tourist attraction. Things were going really well until 2008, when the paper mill owners said, look, we're going to sell Sittingbourne paper mill off, so we'd like you to leave. So there was a bit of a hoo-ha, and we got paid to stay closed in 2009, and then in 2010 we eventually reopened in October that year, which was our 40th year of operation. Then in 2011 we operated between Milton Regis Asda Halt alongside Asda and Kemsley Down, and finally we got back to Sittingbourne in 2012 after all the pipelines were demolished and the paper mill was demolished. And of course Morrison's has been built there since, and now our passenger figures have recovered and we're back to before 2008 levels, or about 2008 levels, which is absolutely brilliant, and quite a quick recovery actually.
And I think you're going to do a little bit about what a journey's like on the railway next.
Yeah, so if you've never been to the railway before, we're a little bit different to most railways. We're a proper industrial railway, so don't expect mountains, although you shouldn't anyway, because we are in Sittingbourne. We've got a journey from Sittingbourne Retail Park. Our car park, which is free, is behind KFC. Then we got our pedestrian entrance, which is through gates behind Pizza Hut, on a road called The Wall, which you can use on the sat-nav to find the railway. You'd also find that when you walk through the gates why it's called The Wall, because there is in fact a wall, and that's got a lovely mural depicting the railway, Milton Creek, the paper mill and the old water tower. And then turning through the gate at the end of the wall, you've got a big foam mast on your left. You turn right there, up the new staircase, which is a metal staircase. So if you came to the railway sort of any time before the last couple of years, it was a bit of a rickety wooden staircase that's now been replaced, and it's much safer to climb the stairs. At some point we'd like to have a ramped access, but we've got big issues with the embankment because it's quite a steep embankment. So at the moment we have no wheelchair access at Sittingbourne Viaduct Station. The station itself is on the site of a former transfer sidings where trains from Ridham Dock would come into Sittingbourne. It would pull into the transfer sidings, and then the smaller engines like Melia and Leader and Premier would come up, collect the wagons, and then take them through the mill, because the bigger engines wouldn't get around the curves in the mill. But of course, all that's now gone. All the warehouses are where Sittingbourne Retail Park is, and of course the paper mill is now the Morrison site. The industrial railway, the industrial nature of the railway can be fully enjoyed as we depart the station onto Milton Regis Viaduct, which is 100 years old and one of the oldest reinforced concrete structures in the UK. One of the longest narrow gauge railway viaducts. It's about 1 kilometre long. It's got 118 spans and 6 bridges, and has cost the railway about £170,000 in maintenance costs since the mid-1990s. But we're about to get another bill of £20,000 because Skew Bridge on Gas Road has been so badly damaged by bridge strikes over the last couple of years, where we've had the other Gas Road bridge closed, that we've had to do some serious work on it between now and hopefully Easter, if the weather holds up. If the weather doesn't hold up, we won't be opening at Easter, so we've got our fingers crossed. Once we come off the viaduct, you pass through the only intermediate station, Milton Regis Asda Halt, but sadly that's been so badly damaged by vandals that we can't reopen it. And because of the steep embankment, we're not sure quite what we can do to reopen the station. So if there are any civil engineers out there who'd like a challenge, do get in touch. The railway then passes through Milton Creek Country Park. The marshes are saltwater marsh on the creek side and freshwater on the Milton Regis side. It's actually quite pretty, and you see lots of strange birds and insects. And if you go onto the Swale Way Bridge on the Sittingbourne Northern Relief Road, you can actually get some great pictures of the trains going through there. And then we make our final approach into Kemsley Down, which is our main station, and it's in the paper mill itself. But it's right on the edge of the paper mill, so you can get out onto Milton Creek and you can walk along the creek side. And we like to think of it as an oasis in the paper mill.
So, talking about that, what can you sort of expect to see and do at the railway?
So at Sittingbourne, there is not a lot to see and do. We've got a few wagons that are awaiting restoration, but pretty much all the buildings have been vandalised and set fire to over the years. So we've got our ticket office and the platforms, and that's pretty much it. And we will, when we get security, which is going to be provided by the skate park, which is going to be next door, then we'll be able to start building facilities up. But at the moment, until the fencing's replaced, there's not much point. But when you get to Kemsley Down, it's completely different. We've got a museum, shop, footplate cafe, picnic and play areas, museum walk, wildlife areas. There's wagons, coaches, locos, the engine shed, everything's at that end. And the railway is quite rare in the preservation world because the original locos, coaches and wagons, and even some of the buildings are from the Bowwaters Light Railway days, and they can still be seen there. And of course our proximity to Elmley Marshes, the other side of the Swale, enables us to see a variety of wild birds. And if you want to go for a scenic walk, you can take advantage of the Saxon Shoreway, which passes Kemsley Down's back gate. And single tickets are available, so you can train one way and walk the other.
So what's happening this year at the railway?
Well, we've got loads going on. It's quite handy being here so early because we haven't actually started the season yet. So this weekend is a work weekend, and so is the 8th and 9th of April. And these are a good time for everybody to come down and help get the railway ready for Easter. And then we start the season all over Easter weekend. So we've got 4 days of steam with trains departing Sittingbourne Viaduct hourly from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. and try and wear ourselves out in the first go. So Good Friday to Easter Monday. Good Friday we will be potting plants. This is something we've done for a few years now. It's good fun. So kids can come along and pick some plugs, choose a plug from a selection, and then pot it in a plant pot to take home. Hopefully we'll get a sponsor for that this year. I've been doing that for the last few years, but it'd be good to find a sponsor for that. And then on Easter Sunday we have an Easter egg hunt around Kemsley Down, and kids will win a prize. And then we settle down to a more reasonable every Sunday until the end of September, 1 till 4 p.m. from Sittingbourne Viaduct, with special events on the 1st and 2nd of May. We've got Jack the Station Cat weekend. Jack's back with more adventures, and on Monday the 2nd of May we've got the launch of the new Jack the Station Cat book, which will be really good, and we're going to have one of the illustrators of the book there reading it out and doing book signings and the like. Then on Sunday the 28th of May, which is the second May bank holiday, only on the Sunday though, it's a Teddy Bear's Picnic, with a return of an old classic event that we brought back last year. It was so popular last year, and we did that in April. So hopefully it will be as good this year as it was last year. And children with a teddy bear and a full-paying adult will travel free. So that will be a good one. And then we don't really have any special events in June, but we hit July running. The 1st and 2nd of July we have Steam and Beer, which is probably our most popular event other than Christmas. We will have live music on the Saturday, and our Captain Jack Sparrow lookalike will be with us on the Sunday. And we've got even more to talk about this year because, of course, there's a film out. So that'll be good fun. Then for August, obviously it's the school holidays, so we will be opening every Wednesday 1 to 4 p.m. and every Sunday 11 a.m. till 4 p.m. We're going to have art in the park with Milton Creek Country Park on Saturday the 19th of August. Now, ideally we'd like to run a steam service on that, but actually because of the stop at the pop-up station at Milton Creek Country Park, there isn't time, literally not time to run all the way through and run round and do all the things you have to do with a steam loco. So there will be diesel trains on Saturday the 19th of August, but we will have a pop-up station in the park for Art in the Park. Then on the 27th and 28th of August, it's our Ivor the Engine weekend, and the little Welsh engine will be back at the railway causing trouble, probably stealing trains. That's what it usually tries to do. So that will be good fun. And then we finish the season on the 23rd and 24th of September with our end of season gala weekend. We've got 3 steam locos running this year, which are Leader, Melia and Superb. So we will probably have all 3 of those running, plus hopefully all 3 of our diesels. So should be a very busy time. Of course, we've got footplate experience courses available for anybody that fancies a drive. There are limited spaces, but if you email for information or look on our website, you can see how to book it there. A round trip takes about an hour, but actually you probably need 2 if you want to see everything, and have a cup of tea in the refreshment room. So as I say, you can do it in as short as an hour, but you are welcome to stay longer at Kemsley Down and return on a later train. And as I said earlier, due to the vandalism at Milton Regis as to halt, sadly that station remains closed.
So if you would like to travel on the railway, how much does it cost?
Well, we aim to be a nice cheap day out, so we've held our prices again this year, so it's the same as last year. A return trip for adults is £7. We've changed the child age, so a child age, last year it was 3 to 13, this year it's 3 to 15. So if you're a child age 3 to 15, it's £3 for a return, £5 for concessions, and £19 for families of 2 adults and up to 4 children. and under 3s go free. But there will be special affairs applying for steam and beer, art in the park, and our centre specials in December.
Paul, how else do you spread the word about the railway?
So I do interviews like this. There's press releases, and of course the all-important model railway exhibitions and open days, where we actually go meet and talk to people. Recently we've done the Heritage Show in Faversham, which was a really good event, and I did a talk at that, which was quite good. And the Holiday and Leisure Show at Dover Cruise Terminal the weekend before last, and we spoke to over 200 visitors in an afternoon, and there were 2 of us, and we were both absolutely worn out after that. And then I've got the podcast as well, which I've recently relaunched at long last, and that's going to be a monthly effort, probably about half an hour long, just keeping you up to date with what's going on at the railway. The first 2 are out now, and I've part written the 3rd one, so I better get on with that when I get home.
So, what do you most like about the railway, Paul?
I absolutely love going to the railway, and I love the fact that we're unique because we were given to preservation by Bowalters, but also because we're like one big friendly family, and we work very well together, and we go there, and although it's hard work, it's good fun.
I was going to say it's a nice sort of industrial place as well, rather than, because there's some railways that are very much, like a sort of what you imagine from the films, I suppose, perhaps.
Yeah.
But your railways, really like a real working rail. You feel like you're actually seeing how it would have been back then, which is quite nice.
And that's one of the things that we hope to put across is, this is what it would have been like, and when they were moving paper around, it wasn't the cleanest material to move around, and pulp and china clay and goodness knows what else. So it sort of gives you a feel, I think, of what the early days of preservation were like. So a lot of them probably started very much the same as we are, and then over the years they've got lottery funding and the like, and become quite polished replicas of a sort of bygone age, whereas we're sort of struggling on through as we have been for the last nearly 50 years.
So what about the membership of the railway?
So we've got about 200 members, which is not bad, and quite a high percentage of active members. And that's because, we understand that you're a volunteer and you don't have to be there. But this year we are beginning to struggle a bit on the volunteers front, particularly on the maintenance side. We don't have any paid employees. Everybody is a volunteer. We always need more members, and certainly the last year or so has really showed that we're beginning to get a bit low on regular volunteers, and we're not all old fuddy-duddies. I mean, some of us might behave like it, but we're not, and we have a wide-ranging age group with quite a few junior members actually, and that's how I got started 30 years ago this year, so that makes me feel old. And in a recent survey we discovered that 50% of our working membership is over 60, so this is probably more to do with them retiring and having more time on their hands, but ideally we'd like to reduce the average age of our working volunteers. But not to say that we don't want the older volunteers, we want them as well, but it would be nice to have some younger blood to help out. And our younger members, who are sort of age 14 to their early 20s, are working on several things. So they're working on the cosmetic restoration of steam locomotive Alpha. This loco has been preserved all the time that the railway has been preserved, so nearly 50 years, but has never actually operated in preservation. And the cosmetic restoration was going to show everyone what she can look like. Then we'll do the fundraising. It's going to cost a lot of money. We're talking, I think we worked it out to be about £150,000 in total. So it's a lot of fundraising. And then you have to put it all apart, and then do the overhaul. But the younger members are honing their skills now so that they can do the rebuild in the 2020s, in the sort of mid to late 2020s, when it's the money's being raised and they've got the skills. Some of the younger members are also working on the Garden Railway, and there's a model railway in the museum as well. And hopefully this year we'll have a 5-inch gauge miniature railway operating as well.
We're joined with Paul Best from the Sittingbourne Kemsley Light Railway. We're talking about membership. How do you become a member, Paul?
So you can pick up a form at a work weekend or at the railway, or download one from our website. Membership costs £5 for junior members. That's the 14 to 17-year-old bracket. £20 for adult members. £39 for family membership. £400 for individual life membership. £200 for life membership if you're over 60. £600 for family life membership, available to 2 adults living at the same address. And for that, you get an opportunity to work on the railway and be properly insured and trained. You get to travel free on the railway when we're open, and you get discounts to steam and beer and Santa specials, because you'll get the rail fare side of the ticket deducted, so you'll make a saving there. There's a quarterly New Bogey magazine, which gives you all the latest information from the different departments, and working members get discounts in the Footplate Cafe. As I said earlier, we're desperately short of volunteers to run the railway this year, so if you can do anything really, from washing up all the way through to operating and maintaining the trains and tracks, we'll provide full training, and some jobs such as assistant station master or ticket inspector can actually be carried out by volunteers as young as 16. So it's never too early to start. That's what we always say. Day-to-day maintenance and repairs are our biggest concern, particularly with the carriage and wagon department, because we have so few volunteers able to help with this. This is partly because they work on Wednesdays, but we're sure someone out there must be able to help. Again, tools, training, etc. is available. Behind the scenes, we also have roles that need filling, such as the company secretary. Poor old Nick, I think he's been doing it for nearly 50 years now. I think he probably would like a break. I know the finance manager would definitely like a break. He's been doing that for quite a while. And we're desperately short of a fundraising manager. It would be absolutely wonderful to get lottery funding, but lottery funding takes a lot of work. It's quite a lot of paperwork. And at the moment, we just don't have anybody who's sort of able to find the time to do it. So you don't even have to go to the railway for those jobs. That's the sort of thing you can do from home. And then we will have meetings for board meetings, for example, for the company secretary and the finance manager, are quarterly. So they're quite handy. They're sort of things that you can do from home most of the time. So if you'd like to volunteer, or would like some more information, please email volunteer@sklr.net.
I know you want to talk a little bit about fundraising for this year next.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of things going on fundraising wise. We've still got our Sort Out Sittingbourne campaign, our SOS campaign. As I said earlier, Sittingbourne hasn't got an awful lot going for it as a station, but we have got some big plans. Last year, some very generous councillors at Swale Borough Council gave us some funding for some new points. So some points that were damaged and bits stolen while we were closed, we'll now be able to reinstate. And that's going to give us, hopefully in due course, another platform to play with. So for the first time ever at Sittingbourne, we'll have 2 platforms, so we can run a more intensive service on things like Gala Weekend and Steam and Beer and other event days. That won't be for a little while yet, but it's in the pipeline. But we've got to keep the fundraising going, and you can donate to that through justgiving.com/SKLR. Also, last 2 years we've been fundraising for Steam Locomotive Premier, which is our oldest loco. We had a sponsor a tube campaign for the backdating project, which is in the process of rebuilding the oldest steam loco to sort of as new in 1905. So some of the more modern luxuries, such as a cab roof, won't be provided. It sounds grim to me, but the train crews and the engineering department are really looking forward to it. So we'll leave them enjoying that. So the next part of the restoration is to replace the 215 stays to enable the boiler and firebox to be rebuilt. So we've done the tubes within the firebox, which take the hot gases from the fire through the boiler, which heats up the water to make the steam to run the loco. Now, a stay is about 4 inches long. It's got screw ends on either end, so it's like a double-backed screw, and it goes into the the inner boiler, the inner firebox to the outer firebox skin, and it just keeps it apart and stops it from warping in the heat. There's more information on our website, but as I say, we're raising money to replace all 215 of these stays, which have to be purpose-built for the job. They cost £25 each to sponsor and can be done through our fundraising page on Just Giving at www.justgiving.com/SKLR. And if you add the phrase Premier Stay, which isn't anything to do with a certain hotel chain, then we know that that's for that fund. Similarly, if you wanted to donate for the Sittingbourne campaign, it's just put SOS, and we'll know that it's going to that fund. You can also do gift aid to the donation if you're a UK taxpayer using Just Giving, which gives us even more money and is great. As I say, there's more information on the project at www.sklr.net/premier, which is PREMIER.
Before you go, Paul, I was hoping you could just run through any useful contact details, or of course refresh our listeners of anything that you'd like to cover. Okay,
so let's start with the contact details. So our website is www.sklr.net, and this is updated at least weekly, so there's always something going on. We've got a talking timetable on 01795 424 899. Working Wednesdays, work weekends, and other volunteering inquiries. Please email volunteer@sklr.net or ask at the railway if you happen to be there. And other inquiries can go to info@sklr.net as well. We have a new official Facebook page, which is pretty good. We got 200 likes so far, and we'd like quite a few more. That's www.facebook.com/SANDKLR. We've still got our Facebook group. This is going to get a bit samey. It's www.facebook.com/groups/SANDKLR. For the podcast, search for Sittingbourne Kemsley Light Railway in iTunes. Probably just putting in Sittingbourne will get it. Or visit www.youtube.com/Stopham, which is STOPEM, or Stopham, STOPEM.libsyn, LIBSYN.com, and that will take you to the podcast blog, and you'll be able to see all the old podcasts as well from way back when. There's also a podcast app available for free from your app store, and that's across all the different Android and iPhone and everything else. So if you go to your app store and put in Sittingbourne, hopefully it will pop up on your list quite near the top. We're also on the Heritage Railway Association app, so while you're in the app store, search for Heritage Railway Trails, and we're one of the pilot railways on that. And it's actually really good. It shows you how to find the railway and then highlight some of the things around the railway. And as the year progresses, I'm going to put some walks on it so that you can see how to walk from Sittingbourne to Kemsley Down, and then buy a single ticket to come back, or vice versa. On Twitter, we are at capital S, lowercase a-n-d, capital K, capital L, capital R. There's my blog, which is www.stopem.net. Premier's backdating project is www.sklr.net/premiere. There's also the Alpha page, which is www.sklr.net/alpha, and our fundraising page is on Just Giving, so it's www.justgiving.com/SKLR. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was the work weekend this weekend, and then in 2 weeks' time. Due to the essential repair work to Milton Regis Viaduct, there will be no works trains for the remaining work weekends. Instead, please park close to the entrance in Sittingbourne Paper Mill car park at 9:45 for a 10 a.m. pickup. Do not attempt to access the railway on foot or by car without the required security passes, because it is a secure site. If you're arriving by train or would like access to the railway on foot via the Saxon Shoreway, please email volunteer@sklr.net to arrange. Work continues on projects throughout the year, and the work weekends are not the only way to help out. Our track gang work on Sundays and Wednesdays, so there's often somebody working at the railway to offer assistance. As I said earlier, even on a non-work weekend day, please email volunteer@sklr.net. And thank you very much, Daniel, for having me on again.
As always, thank you, Paul. It's always good to see you and hear about the railway and how you're doing.